Welcome to the Tim Booker Book Sharing Channel. Here, we delve into the endless world of words, savor captivating stories, and share insights and reflections. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Let's embark on this reading journey, experience the allure of words, and explore the ocean of knowledge together.
Today, I'm going to tell you about a book that reframes menopause, titled Rising Ice Wheel: The Science, History, and Significance of Menopause. When it comes to menopause, what comes to mind? Perhaps you think of menopause as the end of menstruation, the inability to conceive, ovarian decline, hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, doctor visits, and hormone replacement therapy. You might also recall numerous ads targeting menopausal women, advising relaxation, calmness, soy milk consumption, insomnia prevention, and anger management. These associations with menopause share a common trait: they all revolve around women and they tend to be negative. Do men experience menopause? Current research indicates otherwise. Unlike women, men's hormone decline is gradual. Testosterone decreases by about 1% annually after the age of 30. To illustrate, women's changes occur within 5 years, akin to free fall. Men's changes are gradual, akin to descending steps. Labeling these changes as male menopause exaggerates the situation. Hence, when discussing menopause, the focus primarily revolves around women. The book, Rising Ice Wheel, aims to alter the negative perceptions of menopause in relation to women. The author is intriguing, not a physician, but a historian, and also a woman who has experienced menopause firsthand. Susan Mattern, born in 1966, is currently 57 years old. Her insights into medical history are profound. Regarding menopause, her research concludes that it's less a female ailment and more a natural transitional phase in a woman's life. In fact, menopause could be viewed as a unique evolutionary trait, a reproductive strategy aiding human dominance on Earth. This prolonged, non-reproductive phase allows for rapid population growth while enabling significant investment in offspring, passing down extensive knowledge and technology. Let's delve into Rising Ice Wheel in 3 parts. Part 1 delves into the evolution of menopause. Part 2 explores how menopause gained its negative reputation. Part 3 discusses how we should navigate through menopause. Part 1, How did menopause evolve? Let me begin with a surprising fact: menopause isn't a universal occurrence. In fact, most animals neither experience menopause nor possess such an extended, post-reproductive life stage as humans. In other words, most animals can reproduce until shortly before their death, unlike human females who can live for decades after their reproductive years. How do we determine who experiences menopause and who doesn't? There's a statistical indicator called post-reproductive performance. In simplified terms, it measures how much survival time females have after ceasing reproduction, representing the proportion of the post-reproductive life stage in one's entire life. For many animals, post-reproductive life is significantly short. Sheep have only 0.1%, Arctic foxes 0.2%, gazelles 0.3%, lions 0.4%, hippos 0.9%, Japanese macaques 0.5%, leopards 1.2%, polar bears 1.3%, wild chimpanzees 2%, eastern gorillas 2.2%, African elephants 3.5%, and Asian elephants around 13%. However, killer whales can reach 30.9%. In contrast, the post-reproductive performance for women is around 42%, roughly translating to about 26 years of life after ceasing reproduction, a remarkably high proportion. Moreover, even in hunter-gatherer societies like the Kung and Hadza peoples, still following primitive lifestyles, this figure reaches 42% to 48%. Apart from humans, among mammals, only a few toothed whales in the sea, like the killer whale with a post-reproductive performance of 34%, surviving 29 years post-reproduction, and the short-finned pilot whale with a post-reproductive performance of 26%, surviving 13 years post-reproduction, have confirmed menopause and a prolonged post-reproductive life. Regarding chimpanzees, there have been recent advancements in research about their menopause. Earlier studies suggested that chimpanzees hardly experience menopause. But in October 2023, a new study in the journal Science identified signs of menopause in a group of chimpanzees. Scientists spent 21 years tracking and studying the Ngogo chimpanzee community in Uganda, collecting their urine and analyzing hormone changes. They discovered signs of menopause in these chimpanzees, starting around the age of 50, with a post-reproductive performance as high as 19%. This indicates that chimpanzees, much like humans, might have menopause. Previously, harsh living conditions and human-induced diseases might have shortened chimpanzees' lives, preventing them from living beyond 50. However, this Ugandan community of chimpanzees, living far from human interference in national forests, provided many female chimpanzees the chance to grow old, finally enabling researchers to document the existence of menopause in chimpanzees. However, even if chimpanzees experience menopause, it remains rare. Evolutionarily, menopause seems puzzling. Though we humans consider older childbirth risky and infrequent, some long-lived mammals manage to reproduce even at advanced ages. For instance, records show that 99% of Asian elephants can give birth until they are 57. Another example is the bowhead whale, second only in size to the blue whale, which starts reproducing at 7 and can continue until 70. This indicates that the shelf life of mammalian eggs can be quite extensive. So, why do humans halt reproduction prematurely? Wouldn't this hinder maximizing the transmission of their genetic lineage? To answer this, anthropologists and evolutionary biologists proposed a theory, the grandmother hypothesis. Here, grandmother refers broadly to elder females, including not just mothers but also older females aiding in childcare, like grandmothers, great-grandmothers, aunts, and distant female relatives. Female scientist Kristen Hawkes proposed the grandmother hypothesis after living among the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer tribe in Tanzania, and closely observing their activities. The research revealed that every lactating female had at least one menopausal helper. Without these older grandmothers, the child mortality rate among Hadza children rose significantly. The main idea behind the grandmother hypothesis is that these older females, by ceasing reproduction early, help other female relatives in childcare, thereby enhancing their own genetic legacy. Moreover, women's early menopause proves to be an impressive reproductive strategy for humans and a key factor in human dominance on Earth. Sounds unusual, right? Perhaps you've more likely heard of the dominant hunter hypothesis over the years. This theory suggests that male hunters were key to human dominance, providing nutrient-rich meat that fueled the continual growth of the human brain. As the brain expanded, childbirth became difficult, necessitating premature births. Fragile premature babies required care, leading women to specialize in childcare. Thus, gender roles emerged. Men provided food while women managed household tasks and childcare. Overall, it's the idea that men's hunting expeditions propelled human evolution. However, Hawkes discovered that rather than men providing and women consuming, it was adults supporting children. Human children were highly demanding and difficult to raise. Giving birth to more didn't necessarily mean more survived. So, how could more surviving children be ensured? Not just by parents alone but by post-reproductive, eager to help grandmothers. Once the scientific community shifted its perspective to acknowledge busy grandmothers, related studies became more nuanced. These studies collectively suggest that women ceasing reproduction in midlife provides at least 3 major benefits for humans. Firstly, it increases the proportion of adults, enhancing the survival rate of infants. While today we fear an aging society, in ancient times, an overly youthful society was concerning. Adults not only sustained themselves but also had surpluses. However, children couldn't fend for themselves and relied on adults for survival. Even before modern societies, child mortality rates were high, with roughly 25% to 50% of children not surviving past 15. If there were too few adults and too many children would quickly perish, causing a rapid decline in the tribe's population. In the decades following menopause, women ceased reproduction but reached their peak capacity for gathering food. Countless post-reproductive grandmothers, aunts, and distant female relatives contributed to a surplus of food and labor. These resources were primarily invested in the next generation, aiding fertile women in nurturing their children. Additionally, they cared for the elderly, infirm, and orphaned and mediated conflicts. Just like how dual-income parents reduced child-rearing stress, having a sufficient number of post-reproductive females significantly alleviated the burden of childcare, enhancing overall survival abilities. Secondly, it reduces unnecessary reproductive competition. In a tribe where resources are limited, if the grandmother generation continues reproducing alongside the mother generation, there will be direct competition for resources between the offspring of grandmothers and mothers. This competition directly results in higher child mortality rates. This phenomenon occasionally occurs in killer whales, which live in matrilineal societies. Older female killer whales lead others in hunting salmon, particularly when salmon is scarce. The knowledge and experience of older females become more critical during such times, enhancing the survival capabilities of the killer whale pod. However, if both grandmother and mother killer whales reproduce simultaneously, excessive resource competition significantly increases the mortality rate among young killer whales. Thirdly, due to the presence of extra childcare assistance, it prolongs human childhood and promotes cooperation among humans. Human childhood is considerably lengthy, meaning children rely on adults for many years for survival. Yet, this extended childhood pays off, providing years for learning skills and adapting to ever-changing environments. Moreover, because childhood is prolonged and vulnerable, adults need to cooperate closely to raise children. In fact, child-rearing cooperation is as challenging if not more so than hunting cooperation and occurs more frequently. Such social pressures gradually drive our brains to evolve to become more intelligent. When we combine these three major advantages, humans become a resilient species, capable of rapid reproduction and possessing an extended lifespan. We invest heavily in offspring, hence nurturing high-quality descendants. Our lengthy childhood allows ample time for learning the knowledge, technology, and culture passed down by our ancestors, facilitating adaptation to diverse environments. During challenging times, we rely on the labor of post-reproductive females, making it easier for existing children to survive, stabilizing the population. During favorable times, we still rely on post-reproductive females to assist in feeding children, allowing fertile women to quickly wean and produce new offspring, rapidly expanding the population. Sometimes, reproduction is crucial. Sometimes, not reproducing is crucial. Menopause happens to be a pivotal part of the entire human reproductive strategy. This is why Susan Mattern suggests that menopause might not be a problem, but rather an adaptive capability evolved by humans, a natural transitional phase. So, why is our immediate reaction upon hearing menopause? Often, this is an illness, it needs treatment. Part 2, How did menopause get its bad reputation? To understand how menopause gained its negative reputation, let's delve into history. As mentioned earlier, the author of this book, Susan Mattern, is a historian. She extensively researched historical records from different eras and places, arriving at a surprising revelation: the concept of menopausal syndrome might have emerged only after the 18th century. It's crucial to distinguish three different concepts: menopause, perimenopause, and menopausal syndrome. Menopause refers to the conclusion of a woman's menstrual and reproductive phase. This concept dates back centuries. Aristotle noted, most women stop menstruating around 40, and if it lasts longer, it continues until 50. Ancient Chinese texts like the Huangdi Neijing also discuss women reaching menopause around 50, generally attributing it to natural aging. However, the term perimenopause emerged only in the 18th century in Europe, denoting the period surrounding menopause. It was then that Europe coined the term menopause, later translated as kanenki, in Japan in the early 20th century. Regarding menopausal syndrome, it encompasses a series of physical and psychological symptoms before and after menopause. This term, however, requires careful analysis. Interestingly, syndrome embodies two meanings: firstly, the presence of a multitude of seemingly simultaneous symptoms; secondly, our limited understanding of these symptoms' interrelation and true underlying causes. Even today, modern medicine acknowledges its limited comprehension of menopausal symptoms, with research outcomes appearing somewhat scattered and contradictory. The academic focus on menopausal syndrome traces back to a paper in 1710 by a physician named Simon David Titius. Suddenly, menopausal diseases became a popular concept. Some claimed women faced the highest mortality rates during this phase. Others suggested menstrual blood turned toxic and accumulated within, leading to plethora. Concurrently, discoveries about nerves and their conductivity led to theories stating that the uterus and ovaries, during menopause, triggered prolonged mental and physical disorders. Some linked menopausal syndrome to lifestyle, suggesting rural women, engaged in outdoor labor with more children and less sexual activity, suffered less. In contrast, urban women working less outdoors, having fewer children, and more sexual activity, reportedly experienced menopausal syndrome. Advice was offered, suggesting urban women adopt a simple rural lifestyle or, if needed, undergo bloodletting via leeches applied to the genitals. Looking back at these 18th-century studies on menopausal syndrome, they appear chaotic and unreliable. Physicians of that time not only authored questionable papers but also endangered lives. Yet, this flurry of research resulted in a lasting impact. The belief that menopause is a disease became entrenched. What was once an inconspicuous transitional phase now drew widespread attention. Consequently, when women approached menopause, they readily searched for corresponding signs and symptoms. The book cites a physician's statement, "What are symptoms? Symptoms are what the patient tells you." When medical experts began studying menopause, they relied on menopausal women's self-reporting symptoms. However, this method was highly subjective, with researchers often failing to compare these symptoms with those in young women or middle-aged men. This made it difficult to distinguish which symptoms were related to menopause, which might stem from aging, which could be common among many, or those prone to excessive reporting. After synthesizing multiple studies, the National Institutes of Health in the U.S. released a statement in 2005, acknowledging three main menopausal symptoms requiring management: sleep disturbances, vaginal dryness due to decreased estrogen, and vasomotor symptoms caused by blood vessel dilation and constriction, like hot flashes and night sweats. Other symptoms mentioned frequently, like fatigue, irritability, forgetfulness, joint pain, emotional disturbances, and sexual dysfunction, lack sufficient evidence linking them to menopause. Based on this, Susan Mattern daringly proposed that after menopause gained a bad reputation, it might have evolved into a cultural syndrome. Some of the symptoms are rooted in culture and cognition. For instance, women from different regions and cultures experience diverse menopausal symptoms. In areas less influenced by Western culture, women's experiences of menopause vary significantly. Japanese women often mention katakori, deep shoulder pain and restricted movement, relieved through pounding and massage. In Thailand, women associate menopause with reduced sexual pleasure, seeing it as a liberation to focus on religion, meditation, and spiritual tranquility. Ethiopian women never view menopause as a cause of depression, instead, they welcome it as liberation from menstrual taboos. Australian Aboriginal women, known as the hormone people, consider menstruation embarrassing and contaminating, hence, menopause signifies cleanliness and earns them respect. As for menopausal symptoms, they only cite decreased menstrual flow and irregularity, unable to recall other symptoms. From this perspective, menopause appears to be a natural transition. Women's experiences during this phase depend, to some extent, on their beliefs and expectations. However, Susan Mattern emphasizes that labeling menopausal syndrome as a cultural syndrome doesn't negate its existence, deny its physiological basis, or dismiss it as mere imagination. Rather, the brain's influence on the body shapes menopausal syndrome, stemming from the interaction between physiology, emotions, and cognition. The symptoms experienced by women going through menopause are undeniably real, but societal and cultural factors also contribute to constructing these symptoms. In the context of menopausal syndrome, modern medicine rooted in Europe has focused on it for over 300 years. The accumulated perception of menopausal syndrome over these years could impact women entering menopause. They might worry not just about losing estrogen, menstruation, and reproductive abilities, but also about losing health, youth, and allure. This could lead to emotional instability, a lack of femininity, and complex medical decisions, such as whether or not to undergo hormone therapy. Conflicting expert opinions and medical studies on hormone therapy undoubtedly increase anxiety among menopausal women. What are symptoms? Essentially, symptoms are sensations or experiences assigned some meaning. Our bodies continuously generate countless sensations. If you close your eyes now and carefully scan your body from head to toe, you might feel a bit itchy on your head, tension in your shoulder muscles, soreness in your lower back, numbness in your legs and feet. These sensations are akin to white noise, always present but often ignored. However, when we start paying attention to a specific sensation, believing it heralds something more important, we become more aware of it, and it becomes a symptom. If it triggers worry, anxiety, or embarrassment, these emotions affect our bodies, exacerbating the symptoms. The worsening symptoms further intensify emotional distress, creating a self-reinforcing feedback loop. Susan Mattern suggests that the more women worry about menopause, the more agonizing their menopausal experiences might become. Part 3: How to objectively view menopause. So, how should we objectively view menopause? Susan Mattern mentioned an intriguing survey result. Younger women who haven't experienced menopause tend to hold more negative views about it. Conversely, women who've undergone menopause view it more neutrally, even positively. Those who haven't crossed that river imagine countless dangers, swift currents and hidden reefs. Yet, those who've crossed perceive a broader and clearer landscape. Of course, menopause is indeed a transitional period, strategically requiring optimism and tactical readiness to adeptly navigate the physiological changes. Dr. Chen Rong, an obstetrician and gynecologist from Concord, elucidates this perspective in her book titled Better Menopause. She emphasizes that menopause isn't an illness, but preventive measures should be taken during this phase. Menopause is inherently good. By actively managing it, we can make the menopausal experience better. How can proactive management be achieved? Doctors suggest 2 key steps. Firstly, maintaining a menstrual calendar, recording one's menstrual cycle and calculating the duration difference between adjacent cycles. For instance, if the menstrual cycle in January was 31 days and February's was 30 days, the difference in cycle duration would be 1 day. This data serves as a crucial criterion to determine if you're entering menopause. After the age of 40, if the difference in adjacent menstrual cycles exceeds 7 days, occurring at least twice in the last 10 cycles, it's termed persistent menstrual cycle changes, indicating the onset of menopause, warranting consultation with a gynecologist. Secondly, regular doctor visits for checkups are advised. Research indicates that postmenopausal health management is best initiated early. Some might need estrogen supplementation, others might require osteoporosis management, or cardiovascular medication. These aspects are related to menopause, and early detection and treatment yield early benefits. Some hospitals offer specialized menopause clinics, while others include them in gynecological endocrine departments. Choosing doctors from these departments for appointments is recommended. Before the consultation, it's advisable to prepare by summarizing symptoms, personal medical history, current medications, physical examination reports, and laboratory results, especially those related to breast, uterus, and ovary examinations. This way, within the limited consultation time, the doctor can comprehensively understand your situation. In conclusion, as previously mentioned, menopause isn't an illness, but preventive measures should be taken during this phase. Perhaps, we should stop excessive worries about menopause, refrain from making cliched jokes about it, and avoid perceiving menopausal women as hormone-deficient anomalies. Menopause isn't a disease or a disorder. Viewing menopause from a broader historical perspective, it might represent an advantage in human evolution. Menopause is a development and transition for women entering the next significant stage in life. By embracing menopause more positively, you might navigate through it more comfortably, cope better with its symptoms, and endure the process more effectively. These are the essential insights from this book. Congratulations, you've finished another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice together to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, goodbye.